All right, so today we are going to review decimals as fractions and fractions as decimals, meaning we're going to write equivalent decimals and equivalent fractions. Let's start with decimals, changing them to fractions. Remember the rule, read it, write it, simplify it. Step one is to read it as if you were using the place value. So you've got 3 and it's in the tenths place. So we would write 3/10. And it says write it, number over the place value. So 3 over the place value, which is 10. Now, the third step says simplify it. So when I look at 3, I notice that 3 is a prime number. Since 3 is prime, 3 is not a factor of 10, so it is completely simplified. All right, moving on to example number 2. Example number 2 is 2 and 84 hundredths. That's exactly what you would write, 2 and 84 hundredths. In this particular problem, you'll notice that there is a 2 whole number in front, so you're going to write it with the 2 in front, the 84 as your numerator, and 100 as your denominator. Step 3 is to simplify it. So when I look at those two, I can tell that 84 is divisible by 2 and it's also divisible by 4. So I'm going to go ahead and do it the way that I showed you earlier on your notes. So we're going to divide by 2. We get 42 over 50. And then I'm going to divide again by 2. And we're going to get 21 over 25. Which we need to put in the whole number of 2. 2 and 21/25. Example number 3, 5. Sorry, let me move that up. 5 and 6. And look at the place value, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Same thing happens here. I've got a whole number, 5, so that's going to go in front. And then we're going to write 6 over 1,000. Greatest common factor between 6 and 1,000 is 2, so we're going to divide by 2 halves. And we get 5 and 3/500ths. Final answer. Down here at the bottom, I also told you some fraction and decimal equivalents that you need to memorize. These are a big deal. You do need to memorize these. 1/3 is equal to 3/10 repeating. 2/3 is equal to 6/10 repeating. And 1/8 is equal to 125 thousandths. Make sure that you get those memorized. Let's move on over here to fraction as decimals. So we're going to write fractions as decimals. Option number 1. You'll notice that there are 3 options, 1, 2, and 3. Option number 1 is read it. You must have a power of 10 in the denominator. So example 1 is 3/10. Since I have the tenths place there, I'm going to write in my decimal, and to the right of my decimal is the tenths place. Since that is the tenths place, I'm going to put a 3 there, and that's your answer, 3/10. Let's head over to example number 2. Example number 2 is 67 hundredths, which means I need the hundredths place. So I'm going to write 2 blanks this time. This is the tenths. This is the hundredths place. So therefore, I've got to put 67 in this spot. There's 2 numbers here, 2 numbers here, 6, 7, and I am done. Example number 3, I have 3 and 8 thousandths. Okay, so notice how I've got the thousandths place now. Put in my decimal, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. All right, so from there, I notice that I need to put 8 in the thousandths place. So if 8 goes here, then that means that I need to put 2 zeros for the place value. And then of course I've got a whole number of 3 that I'm going to put in front. So it's 3 and 0,008 thousandths. Option 2 If that doesn't work, meaning it does not have a power of 10 in the denominator, you can write an equivalent fraction so that it does have a power of 10 in the denominator. Take a look at example 1, 25. I know that 25 times 4 is 100. So 8 times 4 is 32. And 25 times 4 is 100. 32 hundredths, meaning that I need to put 32 in the hundredths spot. Tenths, hundredths. Done. Moving on, example number 2. 2 and 3 twentieths. Okay, so denominator is 20. So 20, count by 20s, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. That's 5. So I'm going to multiply by 5 fifths. And when I do that, I get 2 and 15 100ths. So 2 is the whole number, decimal point, hundredths place, tenths, hundredths, 1, 5. 2 and 15 hundredths. Let's head over to example number 3. 5 times 2 is 10. So 3 times 2 is 6, 5 times 2 is 10, 6 tenths. That means 6 is in the tenths place. 0 and then my decimal point, tenths place is the first number. Put a 6 there and I am done. Let's take a look at option number 3. Let's say that it doesn't work because we don't have a power of 10 in the denominator and we cannot write an equivalent fraction that will give me a power of 10 in the denominator. For example, 5/6. Okay, in this case, the only other option that I have is to divide it, cowboy and horse. Cowboy is the numerator, horse is the denominator. Okay, so when we do cowboy and horse, the cowboy gets to go inside the house, so 5's going in. 6, the horse, is staying out. I'm going to kick off my boots, that means add a decimal. Hang up my hat, bring the decimal up to the top, and buy 3 donuts. Now, as I start dividing, 6 cannot go into 5, so I'm going to put a 0 at the top. 6 into 50, 6 can go into 50 8 times. 8 times 6 is 48. Subtract remainder 2. Now, I've eaten a donut. I'm going to eat another donut because I'm more hungry. So 6 into 20 goes in 3 times. Times 3 is 18. Subtract, remainder 2. I'm going to bring down again, another 0. Oh wait, I got 20 again. Notice how I have a 20 here and a 20 here, which means that it's going to go in 3 more times. So that means it is a repeating decimal. Now you only have to write the 3 one time. Okay, you don't need to write it any more than that. So 1 time, and then make sure that you put that repeating sign on top of it. Let's head over to example number 2, which is 3/11ths. Again, I'm going to do the cowboy and horse. Set it up. 3/11ths, cowboy goes inside, 11 stays out. Kick off my boots, hang up my hat, and buy 3 donuts. Don't know if I'm going to eat them all, but at least I'm going to buy them. 11 goes into 3, 0 times. 11 goes into 30, 2. 22. Subtract, remainder 8, bring down a 0. 11 goes into 80, 7 times. 77, remainder 3. Bring down a 0. Oh, wait a second, look at that. I've got 3 here, 3 here again. So that means that I'm going to continue this cycle of 30, then 80, then 30, then 80. So that means that I am repeating both the 2 and the 7. So 3/11ths is equivalent to 27 hundredths. Oops. Repeating 27. Last example, 4/9ths. Cowboy and horse. Cowboy goes inside, horse stays out. Kick off my boots, hang up my hat, buy 3 donuts again. 9 goes into 4, 0 times. 9 goes into 40, 4. 4 times 9 is 36. Remainder 4. Bring down that 0. 9 goes into 40. 4 again. Oh, wait a second. Look at this. I keep coming up with this remainder of 4 over and over and over again, meaning it is repeating. So 4/10 repeating is my final answer. And ladies and gentlemen, that is your review of writing decimals as fractions and fractions as decimals. Have a great evening.